12 days after our mayor was inaugurated, the federal government released its findings report demonstrating that there was a pattern or practice of unconstitutional policing in the city of Newark. The last 8 years, our mayor has been laser focused on not only reducing serious crime in the city, but also improving the relationship that our police officers have with our community. 8 years later, crime has been cut in half. Murders have been cut in half in the city.
The Newark Public Safety Collaborative is one of the things we're very proud of. They just had a recent meeting and they had 40 community people and organizations, including law enforcement, including social agencies, the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma, and Newark Community Development Network, and all the neighborhood organizations.
The Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery was developed in the wake of the George Floyd protests. And the rallying cry was defunding of the police. But the city of Newark, we reallocated 5% of the police department's budget to be able to develop violence prevention programs because we know that law enforcement cannot do this work alone.
When our mayor took office, we had been rebounding from layoffs. There were 162 police officers who had been laid off, and the city had a hiring freeze for a number of years. So when our mayor came in, he has hired over 500 police officers and reinvigorated the police department, changed the culture of policing in the city.
So for every 10 police officers that go to the academy, we get one social worker. And so we're coupling the social workers with law enforcement to be able to handle quality of life issues. People who have mental health issues just need resources and things like that.
This is the first time in the history of this city that we are graduating social workers on the same stage with police officers.
We are sending every Newark police officer to in-service training for a full week. They're learning about implicit bias, stop, search, and arrest practices, community engagement, community policing, and also response to a person's resistance in the street. We actually created a full-time position in our community outreach unit where we have a detective who is openly gay, who is the LGBTQ community liaison. Ever since our mayor took office, he's been focused on increasing the relationship between the officers and the community. So today, we have 2 community service officers, full-time, dedicated to establishing those relationships, to solving problems in the community. In the 4 years before our mayor took office, the city paid well over $1.4 million in police brutality lawsuits. And that's been reduced by 94%. And what's true in the city of Newark today is the last 3 years have seen the lowest annual murders that have happened in our city. There's been this idea since George Floyd was murdered that we need to defund the police, that police are depolicing, that you can't have it both ways. We're proving that you can do both. You can have police officers that are compassionate, that police constitutionally, that are respectful, and that also are capable of reducing crime significantly.
So our health center, when we were evaluated in 2014, we received a 9 out of 19, which is a failing score. But 4 years later, we were able to secure a perfect 19 out of 19, unprecedented across the country, and told that we were one of just a handful of more than 1,400 FQHCs across the country to do so. We then again had a second evaluation in 2021 in the middle of the pandemic, and again received a perfect score. Our initial response in providing vaccines was to educate our community through a number of vehicles, from social media to public presentations. However, we got to a point where we realized that we needed to move deeper into the community and take the vaccine opportunities to the people.
We are grateful today grateful for the shot.
And we're here today to vaccinate the YMCA and the residents who live here.
So we developed a number of what we call pop-up vaccine opportunities, where we would go to schools, to communities, to community groups and associations, and partner with those community organizations. We went into the senior buildings to vaccinate our seniors. We went into all of the shelters of our residents without addresses. We have been able to vaccinate nearly 70% of Newark residents ages 5 years and older, and have administered at least one shot to over 85% of Newark residents 5 years of age and older.
It's a long way, it's a long time coming, but I think we're gonna make it.
I was an educator for over 20 years in the city of Newark. I think that the people have the right to control the institutions in their community, education being one of the major institutions in the city, and the residents and families of the city whose children go to these schools should have a right to determine who's their superintendent, who sits on their school board, the curriculum, contracts.
Many people were very interested in wondering about what the new chapter of education would look like. Well, we're actually writing a completely new book. NPS Clarity 2020 converged to the next decade, 2020-30 strategic plan.
So I thought it was incredibly important after 20 years of state control with no real progress that the city should have an opportunity to try for themselves.
So not only do we have a fully elected 9-member board committed towards establishing policies and the selection of the superintendent, we are very confident that our return to any type of state operation is long in our past.
Well, I think it's important that, one, that folks in the community are already educated, because you can't participate in democracy if you're not really educated. If you do not know what's happening in the community, you don't know civics or civil government or what's going on. You need to be educated and you need to be clear on the issues so you can protect yourself and protect your families from things that are going on.
So the Newark City of Learning Collaborative was a vision of the mayor as he looked into 2020, the importance of Newark being a college-going town, but it not being realized by any of the residents in Newark. The responsibility of the high schools is to provide college readiness. The responsibility of the colleges is to make sure that the students actually complete college. So our job is to expose students to all of the possibilities.
Well, we are really proud of Rutgers Newark's attempt to really embrace Newark students. They are amazing students. Since 2013, we've doubled the amount of Newark residents at Rutgers Newark, and in programs like our Honors Living Learning community, where 50% of the 480 students so far are from Newark.
And when I came to Newark to start working at NJIT, I met Principal Raz Baraka. Raz at the time, our now mayor, was the principal of Central High School. We met, chatted, started talking about how do we get more students from Central High to NJIT. So that was the inspiration. That is literally about 20 plus years ago. And then the mayor said one day, it's time we double the enrollment from the city of Newark at NJIT. That was the history and the inspiration. It's been Mayor Raz Baraka. So we're beginning to see the doubling. It took us a little while to get it all figured out. I'm proud of the Mayor Scholars Program because pretty soon you're going to meet one of the participants.
I believe the reason I went to CS is because I wanted to do startups eventually. I wanted to make some apps. I think the scholarship really allowed me to enjoy and utilize my college experience to the fullest of its potential and take a lot of really challenging courses that allowed me to learn really complex things that I didn't think I'd get to learn about until maybe grad school. It gave me preparations for things that I didn't even know I'd be dealing with in college, like internships and things like that. Right now I'm studying computer science. I want to specialize in making apps and websites and things like that. I've been mainly learning a lot of AI, like artificial intelligence, which is something I've been super interested in. I wouldn't be where I am without the Mayor Scholars Program. Thank you, Mayor Baraka.
Inclusionary zoning was an important component of the city's growth as we looked at having inclusive development across the city, downtown, in our neighborhoods. We knew our population was growing and we needed places for our residents to stay. The city has focused on affordable housing, especially in the last 4 years.
And I'd like to thank everyone that was involved in making me and my kids' dream come true. Now they have somewhere they can call theirs.
Just in 2020 and 2021, the city invested $24 million to be able to provide production and preservation of affordable housing for residents here in the city.
We had a recent report issued late last year about a need of 16,000 new affordable housing units that are needed in the city of Newark, a community where 80% of the residents are renters, 1/3 of them burdened by the fact that half of their salary is going towards rents. We are looking to not only build a new affordable housing that's desperately needed in the city and in the neighborhood, but also bring in a commercial component in the form of 6 movie studios in a portion of the existing complex. We have built 545 new affordable units throughout the community. In addition to that, we have extended over 600 project-based vouchers to private developers, so the total is actually over 1,100 new units created over the last 8 years. The Newark Housing Authority currently has 535 units that are either under construction or in the drawing board. Out of that 534 units, we have 100 homes for sale to first-time home buyers. We want to make sure that first-time home buyers have access to affordable for-sale units, not only renting units, but they can purchase a home for the first time and build long-term wealth in the form of equity. Seeing how the Seth Boyd neighborhood was suffering as a result of the existing 15 acres of land that remained vacant, he was able to work with the Housing Authority in extending a loan so that we can accelerate the demolition of Seth Boyd.
78% of the residents here needed assistance during COVID. We worked day in, day out to have 4 rounds of emergency rental assistance. Over the last 2 years, we provided almost $25 million of assistance to the families that rent here in our city. We wanted to help families remain in their home. Our population grew last year. We're now over 300,000 people, and we remain the largest city in the state of New Jersey. That is an incredible thing to happen during a pandemic.
Well, most of the cities across the country have record housing insecurity because of the astronomical cost of living. Under Mayor Baraka's leadership, we have done a lot of work to address housing insecurity for our residents without addresses. We first started with creating one of our first transitional housing centers called the Newark Hope Village. With our Newark Hope Village, we partnered with many service providers in our community to develop a very low barrier shelter. We have a waiting list now of over 100 individuals, which is a good thing. And so these are individuals that are now looking to go into shelter and looking to change their lives and build independence. So we're working actually on building 3 additional sites this year. We've also worked with developers to establish housing projects for our residents without addresses.
So again, this portion of the shelter, we're going to have a main entrance from Freeling Heights in here. This is going to be the daily drop-in room and activity center, as well as serve as the Code Blue area.
And we're working to develop a drop-in center in the downtown area to focus on providing case management and social service supports that are necessary to transition people that are shelter averse into shelter first, and then we'll work to transition them to independence and housing. This $5 million investment that Mayor Baraka has made in homelessness is tremendous.
And Sakina has made it a point over and over again that people shouldn't actually be living on the street.
When I came into the position, I learned quickly that, the mayor was really interested in creating innovative programs that were geared towards our most disenfranchised residents. And under his leadership, I really believe that we can end homelessness here in the city. The mayor's created an Office of Homeless Services just to focus on homelessness. It showed me that there is a community, there is a city, there is a leader that is really committed to moving people off of the street and into homes where they belong.
You will see construction happening today. It can range from a 2 to 3 unit building on a number street, or it could be right downtown and you'll see buildings that have cranes in the air and there's 12 stories being built. But the key important part about our economic outlook is that it's bright. Mayor Baraka's vision for the city is progressive, it's bold, it's necessary today more than it was ever needed before. We needed a leader who took risk strategic risk, but then also brought partners along to be able to help our residents thrive, sometimes even survive during this pandemic. That's a testament to a great leader of a city, but it also leads to all the other facets of our community, from economic development to public safety to transportation to our arts community. And I think that that piece is critically important for anyone to know that not all cities have a leader like this mayor.
Newark is on an incredible upswing.
Prudential has made a series of catalytic investments in things to spur growth and the revitalization of the city. So things like increasing the residential units that are available, including affordable housing, and increasing the commercial square footage for businesses and things like that.
The mayor's vision for inclusive economic growth in the city has been the North Star for the Newark Alliance's work. Our members, which represent the major institutions in the city, from companies like Prudential and PSE&G and Audible to cultural institutions like Symphony Hall and NJPAC.
So Audible has been a tremendous collaborator. We moved to the city of Newark in 2007 on purpose. We really wanted to be part of the city's revitalization. We're the fastest growing employer, so it's critically important for us to work in lockstep with the city of Newark and the administration of Ras Baraka.
Private companies come down, be a part of the city is excellent.
We launched in 2017 a Live Local effort where we wanted to incentivize our employees to live here. It's not just enough to work in the city of Newark. We help to provide a subsidy for employees that want to live in the city of Newark to hopefully kind of expand what their local economic footprint can look like.
Prudential has been in Newark for almost 150 years. We were founded here. We continue to be headquartered here. We are incredibly bullish on Newark and continue to be inspired by what we see every day.
The traveler sees Newark as a welcoming city that offers great restaurants, great entertainment options, and great museums. Since 2014, the increase in tourism to the city of Newark has increased 40%, from $2 billion to $2.8 billion. Hotel revenue since 2014 has increased from $112 million per year to an average of $142 million per year.
Well, at the start of the pandemic, the mayor decided that he wanted to make sure that we provided food for the homeless folks and folks that was in need. So we created a food distribution program, first with the ShopRite cards. Then after that, it morphed into something larger with HelloFresh. And in collaboration with Newark Public Schools and Newark Working Kitchens, we distributed more than 8 million meals.
Mayor Baraka assured that any resident that fell back on their rent during the pandemic had access to the city's emergency rental assistance program. We have allocated $1.8 million to any public housing resident that has fallen behind, so that no one needs to feel the financial burden of this pandemic.
Since March of 2020, the city has issued 4 rounds of small business grants to businesses 25 employees or smaller. They ranged from $10,000 to $15,000 per business, and we were able to reach businesses across all 5 wards.
We invested in the mayor's small business grant fund to ensure that these businesses were able to continue to pay their employees and to provide the goods and services that they were in the business to do.
Okay, it got really hard during the pandemic, and the grants given to us by the mayor has really saved the business.
Queen Pizza 2 has been in business since 1984, which is about 37 years by now. During the pandemic, we received a grant from the city of Newark, which will help us with our expenses, rent, and payroll.
We're preparing the residents of Newark to skill up for the new careers that are emerging in our city. That includes in construction, in healthcare, in transportation and logistics, in technology, and in green energy.
We looked at this large lead service
removal program and thought it was a perfect opportunity to economically invest into the community. Having our black and brown community, Newark residents get jobs, become a part of the lead removal. By getting jobs, we made it mandatory. We worked with the state Department of Workforce Development to put about 65 residents through an apprenticeship program, and maybe about 35 of them graduated in the first class, or now employed on construction projects with the local unions. They've moved on from lead service line projects, but they still maintain those jobs in the union.
We have a ton of work that we do around that concept of making sure that small businesses, new entrepreneurs, existing entrepreneurs have support from us. We've touched over 4,000 businesses last year.
The Newark Land Bank was created to bring homeownership opportunities to the citizens of the city of Newark, so that every Newark resident has an opportunity to become a homeowner. The Newark Land Bank is transforming blight to light.
Newark is actually experiencing somewhat of a construction boom and a development boom. There's a lot of opportunity for developers to come into the city.
The Skyway at Mulberry it's really a phenomenal project. I think it'll be iconic for the downtown. We needed a way to connect our neighborhood. So this Skyway not only is a symbol of how we're connecting our neighborhoods, it's also how we're connecting to those who come, who want to go to NJPAC or visit the Newark Symphony Hall.
In 2021, we did a record in the amount of miles of paving. On typical years, we do approximately 5 miles of paving. Last year, we did approximately 40 miles of paving.
Newark Go. Newark Go is something that cities have been looking at to provide more affordable mobility for residents. In Newark, I believe it's 50% of our residents don't own a car. And so they rely on buses or walking in our city. So what we wanted to do is give them another method, which was to do bike share or scooter share and be able to get from location to location.
So the city of Newark has one of the oldest water systems in the country. City of Newark being the third oldest major city in the country. Our water system dates back to President Lincoln.
Well, listen, somebody who was born and raised in the city of Newark and worked my entire life here in Newark. Newark had a health emergency. It was a crisis. And when you're in a crisis, everyone needs to be able to pitch in to be able to help each other. We were able to put together the Essex County Improvement Authority with us to have Newark bonded through us, the ECIA, which was approximately about $120 million. They're going to have this done in 2.5 years. I think it set the whole tone for New Jersey, that you could have a county government and you could have a municipality, especially the largest city in New Jersey, work together to resolve a problem. And the problem's resolved.
We've invested over $230 million in the water system, from filtration upgrades in the treatment plant to new water mains, fire hydrants, to assessing over 210 miles of small diameter sewer, to reducing decades of flooding in certain parts of the town, and we continue to invest in upgrading the system. The city, after 25 years, had its first lead exceedance back in 2017, and we rolled out a 4-step approach. Immediately to reduce the exposure to lead in drinking water, we handed out 40,000 point-of-use filters. We put in a new orthophosphate system to reduce the effects of lead leaching from the lead pipe. And public education, one of the most important things was develop a program to remove lead service lines, the largest risk of lead leaching into water. We're not only getting calls from all around the country, we're getting calls from outside of the country, whether it's Canada, Germany, or Australia, about how we were able to pivot and create a robust, efficient, and effective lead service removal program in a timely manner. I got a call from someone at the EPA. It was an invitation to be a part of the Biden's administration announcement around the infrastructure bill passing and signing. And it was a highlight of just seeing the city of Newark being invited there to say how we've completed the program and showing that it can actually be done.
There has been growth. A lot of people have relocated out of New York City coming to Newark or in the surrounding areas, but Newark has never seen a downturn. Even during the height of the pandemic, we were still growing, we were still doing construction, we were still working. Even when there were shutdowns, a lot of the contractors and developers were still pushing to get work done, and it's a great time to be in Newark.
I think the residents ought to know that Mayor Baraka has been laser focused in ensuring that any dollars that we get in from the federal government or elsewhere, the state of New Jersey, or any other relief, has to get into the hands of the people who pay the taxes in this city.
The baseball stadium demolition that occurred about a year ago helped us jumpstart new development on that site. The project will actually bring 4,200 residential units, 100,000 square feet of commercial and retail.
A lot of the work that we've been doing in our recreational facilities is to ensure that we upgrade them. As you know, there's been a lot of work and attention that has been placed on repurposing our centers.
The reentry program in the city of Newark started. He saw a need for the residents that were coming home. We didn't have a lot of programs that were funding them to re-enter into society. A class of 50 that we had every 6 months, and the program was for us to bring them in sanitation to work for 6 months. And after they worked for 6 months, during that period of time, they go to class, which we sent them to Essex County College so that they can get workforce training, and not just workforce training, job readiness programs, so that they can have careers after the 6 months. And because of our efforts, the Barack Obama administration recognized the work that we were doing, and he actually visited the city of Newark, which was a great thing to talk about reentry and the importance of having reentry programs for our returning citizens.
Hi, my name is Rebecca. I'm the project manager for Four Corners Public Arts here in Newark, and we are also collaborators on a weekend-long event called A Call to Create and Care, in which we are repairing and restoring our community ground murals here in Newark and various murals that are part of the Four Corners Public Arts program.
Our city's arts and cultural affairs sector not only impacts everyday life and residents, but also those who visit our city. It's an economic engine for the city. The sector has an economic impact annually of $178 million and supports 5,000 jobs. It also creates over $7 million in revenue for our local government. The Creative Catalyst Fund was first announced by Mayor Baraka in January 2020. It was specifically designed to support individual artists, artist collectives, and small to mid-sized arts and cultural organizations.
My name is Antoinette Ellis Williams. I am a Creative Catalyst Grant recipient. I hope that my work speaks to two things, to justice and joy. I hope that when we look at it, we're not taken to a place of oppression, but a place of resistance and agency. To the city of Newark, to Mayor Ras Baraka, to Fahmi Shakur, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity for me to have voice in the place I now call home, Newark.
We supported numerous public art projects that included a new mural by local graffiti artist and artist collective Rorschach on Raymond Boulevard, a new mural at the Sharp James Recreation Center in partnership with Red Bull and Newark Arts, a new mural on Grafton Avenue at Al Munir Farms in partnership with the Grammy Museum and Prudential, community programming in partnership with Four Corners Public Art on Tree Place. We are transforming vacant spaces from blight to light.
Under Mayor Baraka's leadership, one of the first things he has done since he came into office was to strengthen the fiscal base so that the residents' taxes would not be in jeopardy anymore. Indeed, in this last year, for the first time in over a decade, the municipal tax rate was reduced under Mayor Ras Baraka. And that's exceptionally important because when he took office, there was a $90 million structural deficit that he took over, and he didn't know that that $90 million deficit existed.
During the pandemic, the interest rates fell, and we were able to take advantage. That saved us approximately $12 million.
We continue to reach out to our senior population, continue to engage, and continue to grow with a plethora of programming, be it hybrid, be it virtual, to enhance resource development.
We want to thank the Newark residents for filling out the 2020 census. The City of Newark started the campaign 2 years ahead. We had 48 job fairs, and we did more than any other city in the state of New Jersey. We hired over 2,000 Newark residents, and we work together alongside Newark schools, colleges, community leaders, community centers, churches, libraries, elected officials, and together, the City of Newark was counted.
So one of our major successes is being able to register over 2,000 voters in the City of Newark alone, and also being able to see many of our students and our peers be able to go off to major colleges, start their own businesses, and many other endeavors.
Because my assignment is to make sure when you leave me or leave one of the faith leaders, that you feel better, even if we could not accomplish everything you wanted us to accomplish. And that's why I am thankful to be able to do what I do. No matter where I am, no matter what assignment I have, what's important to me is that when I walk away from you, or you walk away from one of us, and if we representing the Mayor's Office of Clergy Affairs, that we've done something to make you feel better. And there's a quote I use from some other folk. I didn't create the quote. The quote is, people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care.
Because you're from Newark and you need to be proud of it.
Newark and proud of it.
At Rutgers Newark, we are Newark and proud of it.
Soy de Newark y estoy orgullosa de serlo.
Newark and proud of it.
We were founded here, we're still here, and we're proud of it.
Newark and proud of it.
The Department of Public Safety serves the City of Newark, and we're proud of it.
Newark and proud of it.
Newark, I'm proud of it.
I'm from Newark, and I'm proud of it.
I'm Newark, and I'm proud of it.
Yo soy Newark y estoy orgullosa de serlo.
You're from Newark, and you need to be proud of it. You are from Newark, and you need to be proud of it. You are from Newark, and be proud of it.